As an introduction to what you are about to see this time on Neighbors, allow us to set the stage. This season began like the ones before, which involved a team of neighbors, both physically and by cause, coming together to help teach young people that life is like the game of chess. The first lesson you must learn on the road to improving not only your chess game but also your life is to get your priorities straight. It is important to make the right decisions from the beginning so that your life is on good squares, to ensure the protection of the king and, in real life, yourself. This time, plans were made to bring the chess song to a new cast of young people, and through the determination of our executive producer Vicky Mayfield Camacho and new neighbor Joyce McKenzie, we found ourselves scheduled to film at the main branch of the Danbury Public Library in Danbury, Connecticut. Like before, we shared with our new cast the basics of chess through the chess song and explored how it related to making better decisions in their lives, although this time with one small difference. Per the request of our new sponsor, Ms. McKenzie, we were also asked to explore bullying. At first, our exposure to bullying was only going to be from our personal experiences and a few other interviews which included a local state representative and guidance counselors from the Danbury Public Schools. It was during that interview, however, in which something unexpected happened. While we were in post-production and reviewing their interview, we noticed a familiar photo during their presentation of young people that had committed suicide in 2010 due to bullying. Surprisingly, that familiar photo was of someone that our neighbor Matthew Gillespie had a personal connection to. Brittany Helton, the 19-year-old daughter of his relative, and to whom back in the same year when we were first getting started, we dedicated an episode to in her memory. From that moment on, we realized that this issue had affected most of us in some way or another, so our resolve became strong and our mission even more clear. In the following episodes, you will see how we expanded our exploration of chess to combine not only the basics of the game, but also with what each chess piece could represent in real life as lifelines to those being bullied, whom in this story are represented by the king. And now, we present Neighbors.
Each one, teach one, mother and father and daughter and son. We gonna learn and plus have fun. Yes indeed, the time has come. Reach out to your neighbor, do something nice, return the favor. It's all good, we all get along. Clap your hands and sing along to the song. Young people, you ain't gotta do wrong. We can all do right, come on.
Just to make you think ahead, battle mind to mind. Make you not be left behind. I put us all together to teach you basic chess where you learn the piece of movements out of your stress. Chess.
The king. He is always under attack, bullied. Everyone wants to get the king, and though limited in the moves he can make, he is protected on every side by the queen, 2 bishops, 2 knights, 2 rooks, and the king's frontline protection, the 6 pawns. This is his story. Could you just briefly tell us how and why we chose Danbury this year?
I found a friend on that social network thing called Facebook, and I hadn't heard from her in 11 years, and I spoke to her, and I told her what I was up to, and once I found out she was in Danbury, and I said, can you get us on in Danbury? And her name is Joyce McKenzie, and she said yes, but the subject has to be bullying. So we head to Danbury, and we have a standard format in Neighbors. We do an audition, we learn the chess song, we play chess, and though this season we didn't get any real singers of the chess song, we'll be singing it as usual, but we didn't get any, we got chess players, but what we got was something even greater than our regular standard. So now we do the interviews, we've been the next 4 Saturdays in Danbury, filming, talking about bullying, and yet I haven't found out how I'm going to tie all this in to chess. I'm thinking the whole way through, how am I going to put this together? So first I put the bully, I said the bully. He's limited in what he can do. Put him in the king, because I was trying to find, is he the pawn? Is he the bishop? Is he the rook? Is he the knight? Is he the king? Something said, put him, he's being attacked. Who's always attacked? The king. That's the basis of the game, attacking the king. So I came to it, and I saw Matt. I said, Matt, I think we can work this out. Mm-hmm. If we make the person who's being bullied, not really a bully, not a victim, but the king, how, we can go from there, and everyone is his support. He has the pawns in front of him in his support. He has the queen, the knight. He has all these things in support. So then Matt and I sat down, and this is what we came up with. The person being bullied is not alone. He's not by himself. Get that out your head. If you put yourself in the seat of king, you will realize that you have the queen, the bishop, the rook, the knight, and the pawns. Now, we had to figure out how we're going to use that, and Matt and I sat here on Wednesday, and we realized that we were going to use this concept. The pawns are your friends and peers. Those are the ones that are close to you in school with you that know. If you're being bullied, you can say to them, hey, this guy is bullying me, this guy, or, your peers, and let them come and say, man, that's not cool, or you should stop that. So that's the pawn. So then we went to the bishop. We figured that it could be the bishop. Well, we'll be interviewing a pastor shortly, just to say the religious take on bullying, or his stance. Maybe in church they have bullying policies, so of course you can be bullied in church. So then we went to the next one, we went to the rook. And the rook is our school support and counselors. Now, look, when you put yourself, go from being a victim and being the person bullied to being a king, you'll be able to see all that support that's there. Then we have the knights, which is, we put our state legislature. There are laws in place to stop bullying, and we'll show you that also. Then we put the queen as parents and family. Because, as we say in Neighbors and the Rules of Chess, the queen has so many moves they can make. And that's what the family can do in protecting the king. But we just want you to, if you play chess, you sit down on a chessboard, and you say, I'm king, you'll see all the support you have. If you're being bullied, instead of saying, I'm a victim, this is horrible, I'm different, just say, I'm the king. Just like in a game of chess. If the premise of it is, I guess the basis of chess is that the king is always under attack, and you protect them. So now you understand yourself. This bully comes over to you, and they start bullying you as a king. All you need to do is decide which way you're going to go. Are you going to go to the rook, which is your counselors? Or are you going to go to the queen, or use the queen to make the moves, which is family? Or are you going to use the legislation? So you're not a victim. You're prepared. No, you're not. We are attacked all the time. It's nature. It's human beings. I mean, everybody looks at Animal Kingdom. So, we don't know why this happens. It's just the way it is. So instead of putting yourself in the victim, put yourself in the defense mode and look at all you have around you to protect you and make that happen. And that's what we're going to do with Neighbors. And that's how we set it up to talk and teach you chess and how the pieces move, but also how if you use the game of chess tools. And the whole thing with Neighbors, I'm trying to say, just no, I'm not a victim. I'm in the king, and put yourself at the chessboard and use all the support that you have around you, and never consider yourself alone. Never consider yourself hanging out there and anyone can do whatever they want to do to you. It's not like that. And I feel using the game of chess, going to chess clubs, sitting down with your parents and going and learning the game of chess. Then once you sit down at the board, you'll say, boy, I see exactly what Vicky is saying. And you won't be a victim anymore. You'll understand bullying because you'll understand it's protected. We're attacked every day in one form or another. Even after you're born on this earth, you are attacked from the emergency room. I don't know if I'm coming out. So this is just the way of nature. What we're trying to teach through Neighbors is It's how you think of, how you look at what's being done. And if you go, I mean, they have a family chess at the Greenwich Library at 7 o'clock, and you sit down there and play. They've been putting more and more libraries. I know in Danbury they started a chess club. And find out about it, and you will sit down and you'll see exactly what we're trying to show you with neighbors.
Sometimes
which is you're not alone.
There are numerous different kinds of bullying that exist. Could you share a little bit about the different kinds of bullying that we may see?
Absolutely. And I brought a sign here. We actually categorize them in 4 different ways. There's physical bullying, which is exactly that. It's of a physical nature. When you see a child who's maybe shoved in the hallway, or pushed around, or beat up and their lunch money taken. That's kind of an old school picture of bullying, but this happens much more subtly nowadays in the hallways, into pushing kids into lockers, stuff that's happening at bus stops and in locker rooms, and where there isn't always an adult present. So that's physical bullying. Then there's cyberbullying, as you had just mentioned, and that has become a growing epidemic because cyberbullying is done often in the privacy of your own home. So you no longer have to face your victim directly, but you can bully them, harass them by posting derogatory images or messages on Facebook, on other social media sites, texting harassing messages, emails, and that's become an increasingly terrible epidemic because it really is so much more public than in a hallway or in a classroom where maybe there's 20 bystanders. When you post something on someone's Facebook, you might have 1 million viewers.
Right.
Then there's emotional bullying, which is relational bullying. That is merely isolating the victim. Yes?
I wanted to say something about relational bullying as it may be very, very common, this relational bullying, and many times we see that students, and I think girls sometimes, are a little bit more impacted by relational bullying as they may be in with a clique of girls, and these girls may not treat each other so nicely. But it's certainly, it's almost better for the girl to be around a group than to face the fear of being alone. And so relational bullying can look like exclusion at any point in time, socially rejecting someone, spreading rumors or gossip, and can be very impacting, I think, physically and psychologically on the victim.
Absolutely. And something that I've recently read, it's also not being picked for a team or not being picked to be a partner in group work. A lot of classes now are using experiential learning, so they're going to like group projects. Not being chosen by anyone in the class is rejection, and it really causes a lot of emotional scarring. The last type of bullying we see a lot of, which is actually the most common, is verbal bullying, and that is done in classrooms, on teams, anywhere that children are exposed to other children. And the way verbal bullying works is they don't just make a comment to hurt the victim, they make it in front of other people. So instead of just saying something, directly to that one student, they say it so loud others can hear, like, nice shoes, or where does your mother buy your clothes, or who combed your hair today? It could be just that basic, but that causes, like the others, such emotional scarring for that student that it decreases their self-esteem over time.
The queen is on the same. This one's white, so it goes on the white board.
Okay, so the white queen goes on the white queen.
Yeah, the queen goes on the same color as it is.
As it is, okay.
The king, on the other hand, goes on the opposite color as it is, and it's they're both next to one bishop.
Okay. So can I ask a question? If I was setting up on the other side, excuse me, ladies, I would take the king and queen, and where this queen is on white, right, it would be on black.
Yeah.
And where this king is on the black, it would be on the white.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Last but not least, the whole point of the game is the king. Okay, the king is kind of special because he only moves one piece at a time, one space at a time.
Sometimes it could check and checkmate.
Yeah, very good, Avi. He goes very slow. And like one of my kids said, Avi, he can be put in check, which is a threat. So that means right now the rook, if the rook is here, he's actually threatening the king. And the king gets scared and he's got to do something. Okay, when he's in check, he has three choices. He can move, he can block it with a piece, or he can take the piece. Okay? But that's check. That's a special circumstance. All right?
The king is the most important piece, though not the strongest. He can move one square in any direction. If he is not safe, well then you lose the game. The king is in checkmate. 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 One king, one queen, two bishops, two rooks, two knights, two players, 8 pawns, 1 boy.
So that's what with this segment, we're going to talk about bullying for all of us. We have neighbors here, and we're all going to tell our stories. And we have we have parents here. Joyce McKenzie is here, and she, as a parent, she's going to talk about her experience with the kids being bullied. And then, of course, we have Antoinette, Michael, and Jonathan, and they'll tell their story of bullying. Thank you very much.
My story of bullying started as a child in Jamaica, going to school. At the age of 6, my first experience with bullying was having my lunch money taken from me every day for a month, until I decided one morning that it would be the last time of my school days going through that experience, and so I started fighting back. And throughout my school years, I've dealt with it that way. I did not back down from people that were bullies. I stood up to them. And in my adult life, having children, I teach my kids the same things because it works for me.
I have one from a child. I was in high school.
And how long ago was that?
I was in high school, and I remember this girl. I guess she didn't like me. I don't know for whatever reason, but in bullying, you never know why the person doesn't like you. It's always their issues. It has nothing to do with you. It's always a baggage that they have to carry. And I remember she said, "Meet me in the back," because we had these trailers like most schools have, like for extra classes. They have the trailer in the backyard, and I remember she said, "Meet me in the back of the trailer when school is over. I'm gonna beat you up." And I remember going to my cousin, and my cousin Joan, who helped get us into Philadelphia our last season. And I said, Joan, this girl wants to fight me. She said, meet her in the back of the trailer. And I remember my cousin Joan looking at me and saying, "Don't go." And I was like, it never entered my mind. Like, she was like, you meet me in the back behind the trailer. I'm going to fight. We're going to fight. And I thought that was an order. I didn't know I had a choice. And I looked at my cousin and said, she said, "Meet me in the back, back of the trailer, because she's going to be there." And my cousin Joe just looked at me and said, "Don't go." And I didn't go. And she never bothered me again. I think if I had went, I would have been following her orders. She would have been bullying me from that point. Come to the back of the trailer. Now, of course, if I come, then obviously I'm her pawn. She can manipulate me. But the fact that the first thing was breaking that cycle of bullying is the fact that I didn't go. And it was my cousin. Don't go. So that's my only high school. And see, I wasn't bullied because I didn't go. So I didn't know how important it was.
Let me see. My bully story was, I think I had to be 13, I think. No, because this is high school. So I had to be 14. And I think I had only been living in Greenwich for a year. I was living in backcountry Greenwich in the woods next to the golf course. Lovely, lovely place. And I used to take the school bus, and I used to get bullied. And I don't know why. It could have been a number of reasons. It could have been because I was the only black person on the bus. It could be because I was probably overweight, so I was probably like one of the larger people on the bus. or just because I just lived in backcountry Greenwich with a whole bunch of little snotty kids, and they just didn't understand how I lived in the same place that I lived with them, and I was a different ethnicity and everything else. Not everybody was like that. I did make some friends, but for the most part, my school bus riding was horrible. I think that's how you usually started your day, was on the bus. And I remember all my tormentors. And before I go into story, I can pretty much say that when you, as a child, and you're going through it, you think it's the most horrible thing. But as you get up as an adult and you look back at the people who bullied you, the majority of them are like the biggest losers ever, and they're not doing anything productive in their lives at all. So you get to walk past them looking all fabulous and feeling all great and realizing that they never stopped your life at all. If anything, they just made you stronger throughout the time. But as you're sitting there as that little 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, you feel like your life is going to be over. Like, oh my God, they're never going to stop bothering me. Like, I don't know what to do. Me, in my case, I was quiet. I was a quiet kid on the bus. I was like the funny kid, so I had my few friends. And it was weird because it was like, you know, there was kids that sat in the front of the bus, there's kids that sat in the middle of the bus, and then like the cool kids sat at like the back of the bus or whatever. And they would sit back there and like torment and torture everybody. And I don't know how they zeroed in on me, but they just did. And it was like, I remember it was 3 people. It was like Jane, her brother Michael, and their friend like Laura or somebody. You see how it is? I don't even remember these people's names. Like, here we are 20-something years later, and I don't even remember everybody's name. I don't know exactly how it started, but I know they would just always pick and like say stuff to me and like throw stuff at me. It was just a constant thing every day. And I had pretty cool bus drivers. I will give it that part. And I remember we had this one bus driver who was like, everything you think you'd be scared of. He's like biker dude, beard. He used to wear his like bandana and like drive on the bus and like listen to like rock music and stuff. But he would notice them pick on me constantly. And he would always speak up. I mean, there was a number of times where he actually like pulled the bus over to be like, why are you guys always bothering her? Stop picking on her, that kind of thing like that. And then, I don't know what happened. It was just one of those days where it's like a long day at school. You gotta have all this homework. You're tired, you just want to go sit on the bus and like chill out and get home. And then, I don't know what came over me. They were just picking. And then, I don't know, like the ninja came in or something, because I just remember, I was like, I can't take all 3 of them, but if I get a hold of one of them, if I get a hold of just one of them, it will be enough to just like make the madness stop for the day. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. But I remember just kind of like flying over like 2 bus seats to get a hold of this girl. And I don't know, I just went crazy. It was like all that time of them picking and building up and me just being quiet. I just couldn't be quiet anymore. And I just remember my friends even being like, oh my God, Leslie, what are you doing? And then her brother tried to pull me off and their friend tried to pull me off. But I was like, if I just hold on to one, I was like, my message will get a point. But I mean, I don't think you should probably let it build up to the point that I let it build up. I should have probably like called my mom in a little earlier. Like I did have the bus driver there to like kind of like defend me or whatever. But the outcome was like, I think we both ended up getting suspended from school. And I couldn't take the bus for like a week. And it was actually a threat of that permanently staying on my record going into college. So I had to like stay after school and do work and like all this other stuff just to expunge it from my record. So when I went to apply for college, I wouldn't have it on my record that I had been suspended for school. So maybe my way was not the best way to do it, but guaranteed those 3 people never even made eye contact with me like ever again. We never spoke.
I'm Christine Helton. I lost my daughter, Brittany Rebecca Helton, on August 4th, 2010 to suicide.
You mentioned things that you've learned about her as, you know, she went through this struggle. What were the other sources of her pain that had kind of...
Her, a couple of her friends, when one had gotten really angry at her because Brittany chose to go to the beach instead of going to an amusement park with them. This person was a bully. She, it was do as I say, and we're going here, and you're going to go with me, or I'm not going to talk to you. And that affected her several months before she had passed away.
And was this a friend at school or just a friend in
It was
life?
a friend from,
High school.
actually from grade school on.
Yeah. So something that's been in her life always as a bully, or did it just happen as
Yeah.
they got older?
Yeah, no.
Probably intensified as she got older.
Yeah.
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 You know, as young kids hit puberty, they seem to become more bossy, controlling, and that was a big problem with her friend.
Teach one, mother and father and daughter and son. We gonna learn and plus have fun. Yes indeed, the time has come. Reach out to your neighbor, do something nice, return the favor. It's all good, we all get along. Clap your hands and sing along to the song. Young people, you ain't gotta do wrong. We can all do right, come on.